Here's a little something I bet you guys didn't know about me, is that I'm not much of an anime watcher. Yeah, despite how much I'm interested in movies and TV shows, I've never been a real avid watcher. Now that's not against the art form itself. In fact, I actually like the art style and the storytelling methods. But why is it that I haven't really gotten around to watching many of them? Well, I'm gonna use the cop-out example. I'm a really busy guy, and a lot of anime is a lot more story-focused than something over here in the West. It takes a lot more time and a lot more commitment. I mean, look at One Piece. That thing's gonna live forever. I need to make sure that I have enough time on my hands so I don't fall behind and I get invested in the story, giving it its due. And when I do this with stuff like Soul Eater, I usually have a great time. It's just that, again, it's a lot of a commitment. But I'm always looking for new recommendations. You never know when I'll have a free weekend. I mean that too, my work has a very weird schedule, but let's not talk about that. We're here to talk about something else. A Patreon raffle review winner thanks to Leaf Razor. If you would like to have your own Media Mementos review come to life, then consider donating to the Patreon. $2 for Patreon raffle, and once a month, we pick a raffle winner, and with a couple exceptions, anything you want will get reviewed. Today's review will be about Madoka Magica. What is the show about? Well, that's actually a really difficult thing because talking too much about this show is gonna lead to a lot of spoilers. Now, I know this has a cult following, and I'm sure a lot of you watching have already seen it, but on the off chance you haven't and you want to check it out for yourself, I'm gonna keep this as spoiler-free as possible. However, there's gonna be one big one that I have to get into, although it is pretty obvious if you know anything about the show. Now, when I was first pitched this, I was explained that it would not be what it looked like. It was a lot like Doki Doki Literature Club, where it looks like a cutesy little innocent thing, but it turns out to be anything but. At first I thought this was a little bit exaggerated. I mean, how much could that possibly be the case? And oh boy, when I saw it, yeah, no kidding. What's the show about? Well, it's about the schoolgirl named Madoka. She's innocent and charming and a little bit timid, but has a good heart. Please don't turn off the video. I swear it gets more interesting than that. She has a really nice family that has no real flaws. Come on, please don't go away. I'm promising you, it gets interesting. There's a new girl at school and she's pretty weird. She's really popular for some reason and has a lot of great athletic skills. And Madoka tries to be her friend. Hey, I see you going to Pornhub, come back here! But things get interesting when Madoka realizes she's seen this girl in her dreams, and then, boom, nightmarescape happens! I could not believe what I was looking at. This artistry, this movement, the backgrounds, all of this was so unique. Anyways, she meets this one magical girl that has a certain pet that allows wishes to come to life as long as you join the magical girl and fight off evil people with her. And so that's really where the story goes. Again, I'm leaving out a lot of the key plot details on the off chance you haven't seen it, because, spoiler alert, I recommend this. This really is such a unique series. It's not very long, it's only about 12 episodes, but each one feels special and important. Even the first one, which, by all means, is trying to trick you up until the very end. I compared it to Doki Doki Literature Club, mostly because Leaf Razor did that for me. How so? Well, it starts off kind of simple, innocent, and sweet. You go into this thinking, okay, cutesy cute art style with a girl thinking about, oh, should I put ribbons in my hair to get a boyfriend? Ooh, love notes! Ooh, new girl! You think it's gonna be one of those innocent schoolgirl things, or maybe if you've got a really bad mind, you think it's gonna become some kind of weird hentai. But by the end of the first episode, when we get the real first fight scene, aside from the one dream sequence in the very beginning, you realize what exactly this is. It's dark, it's disturbing, it's twisted, and it's got a lot of really good art to it. Now, I want to compare this to another thing, The Thief and the Cobbler, especially because of the surrealist animation going on. Not just the backgrounds, but a lot of the weird stuff going on even in the foreground. It messes with perception, and it's something unlike anything I've ever seen. And like The Thief and the Cobbler, it relies mostly on its art. Earlier on, the characters aren't really as fleshed out and they more get carried along by the stories they get thrown into, but they do definitely grow. However, in my opinion, like a lot of anime, The art style steals the show here, especially because of how this breaks the mold. Everyone knows that typical anime art style, right? They have the same body types, the same animations, the same expressions. Again, not knocking it, that's just how it's stereotyped as. Like how Canadian animation is always stereotyped to be in Flash. This does not do that though. It has a lot of unique things going on. Like look at this. When would you see that in another anime? I'm really asking this, because if there's anything like that out there, I really want to know. Please tell me. I'm looking for recommendations, like I said. This whole thing takes you on a wild ride, and even as someone who kinda knew the twist going in, given the fact that it looks sweet and happy, almost like a Sailor Moon thing. I mean, really, it's a lot like Sailor Moon. Magical girls, a cat-ish type creature going around stopping villains by moonlight. You get the idea. But as someone who knew what it really was going in, I was still thrown for a loop on just how far it goes. It gets dark, really dark. Lots of deaths, lots of violence, lots of dark action, and I love it. It's that juxtaposition that flows really nicely. No matter what, the characters always look like they're supposed to be from some happy schoolgirl dating sim. But the show is really dark, disturbing, and messed up. But even though all this horrible stuff is happening, the characters still kind of remain their typical nicey-nice archetypes. Madoka's still the timid yet good-hearted schoolgirl, and her friend is the loudmouth, obnoxious one who kinda gets them into trouble because she doesn't have any filter, that kind of stuff. It's that nice mix that adds that extra level of consistency, and I really appreciate that. A lot of times, things tend to bend after the big twist comes in. Going back to Doki Doki Literature Club, it would be so easy to, once the twist happens, change the characters entirely. Although that has an excuse, but we're not here to talk about that. This keeps them consistent all throughout. Admittedly, that's not super difficult given how short this series is, but again, it's still appreciated. Honestly, if you haven't seen this, I highly recommend that you check it out. Go find it. It's really worth it. And it's not very long either. That's one of the things I liked most about it. It's clear, concise, and to the point. I'm sure One Piece is great. I'm sure Bleach was great. I've heard things about it going downhill, but I'm gonna leave the anime fans to tell me whether that's correct or not. But they go on forever, and I don't want to watch them because I don't know if I have the time to get invested into that. I know they're great stories. They've gotta be. How else would they be so popular and go on so long if they weren't great? But it's that length. That length is what scares me away. Madoka Magica does not have that problem. It's intentionally short. It gets all of the story it needs to out in the exact allotted time it was given. Not too long, not too short, it flows perfectly. And it doesn't have any pacing issues either. The story flows naturally. The characters are what push it along too. There's never any forced plot point. The motives are set up really nicely, and the plot makes a lot of sense. Sure, there are some parts where they have to exposition the crap out of you, but I guess that's kind of an anime staple. And even then, they make it interesting. The lore behind this stuff, while seeming kinda generic at first, is actually pretty interesting. I applaud the writers for coming up with such a weird premise like this and following it through, and I'm glad that it has a strong cult following like this. Apparently there's a lot more stuff that's connected to it. I don't really understand. It seems like there's some sequel series or prequel series going on, but either way, I'm definitely looking to check this out. This definitely got me hooked on whatever this world has to offer. I'm enjoying it a lot. And now that I know that there's more, you'd better believe I'm interested in checking it out. However, I probably won't make any videos about that. Just know that in the background, behind the scenes of this all, I'm looking at whatever else this series, I guess, has to offer. I'm gonna leave more experienced and more knowledgeable anime fans to talk about this show and all that it has to offer, because really, I'm a novice when it comes to this. This is the perspective of someone who's mostly grown up on Western animation. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course. Personally, I find that as a new, unique experience and a different point of view. But enough of that. Madoka Magica is really something special. It totally throws you for a loop and takes you on such a wild, wild ride. Again, I'm not talking about my theories or spoilers of any kind, because if you haven't seen this, then by all means, What are you still doing watching this video? Go check it out right now. I'm sure there's a lot of websites that have it. Go! Well, folks, thank you very much for watching the video. What did you think of the show? What did you think of the video? Comment below and let me know because, hey, guess what? I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. That's never gonna change. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time!